All right, day after track day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are watching this. Won't lie, the day was good yesterday, if you didn't watch the previous video, but I slept on. I was a little irritated at this swirl pod, if you want to call it, the Speed Factory fill part that I have kind of cracked. I don't blame Speed Factory, it is what it is. We're racing, shit happens. So, in case you did not watch the last video, I just kind of cleaned the hood off, but I'll throw it in this clip too, but here's the engine bay looks like right now. Right, there is coolant splash basically everywhere. It didn't even drip on the ground. It was like, I'll throw the clip in here again. There it is. So it's very small, and I'm guessing the fan, just as it was running, was just blowing that little tiny drop everywhere. So agenda for right now is I'm gonna pull the bumper, pull the radiator, drain it, yada yada, pull that piece off, I have to re-weld it. Fingers crossed she holds up forever. And again, clean everything, and then we're gonna figure out some ducting situation here just to make sure this thing is super cool in the future. So let's get started. All right, so I took the bumper off, and as you just saw, I was taking my time. It probably takes me 3 minutes if I just have some power tools and just go after it. I don't have to take the corner lights out and stuff like that, but I did just to have just as much room for everything. I guess good thing this all happened, I don't know. So here we go. I noticed there's some coolant down there. That's crazy, right? But I'm not, well, I haven't checked the coolant because I haven't had to add any in the last like 4 track events, I think, maybe 3 that we've had this radiator set up, but and it hasn't been overheating, but immediately I was like, oh man, where the hell is this? That's crazy. I was like, oh, that's crazy. Where's that one at? Well, look at that guy. Looks like it's had its way. I don't know if it's focusing, but there she is. This one, no idea where it went. So I'd be lying if I said I was not even more irritated now. So I said I'm not going to mess with this car because I'm getting more comfortable in it. And I stand by that. The only thing I'm going to mess with is obviously things to make it reliable in this case. So I don't know what I'm about to do. I'm going to take this stuff off and let's address the damage, I guess, and we'll go from there. Yeah. All right, so where my turbo feeds in is also basically the drain. So we're gonna have to pull the splitter. I mean, I don't have to, but it's just gonna go all over the splitter and go everywhere, so who knows. So to make this easy, we'll just kind of just do that to both sides. All the rocks and debris. So I mean, whatever, we'll be able to clean it now. Oh, that's interesting. It's like all coming out of the turbo drain. More so than the radiator. From that bolt. Again, I don't think it was really leaking, but I'm not risking running the radiator again. It already looks like that. I know they make combs, but I'm not. Fantastic. Oh, I just hit it. I was gonna say, this is why, right? Coolant, smoke in the traction bar. So if, yeah. Might have some Honda Bond this. Well, there's a small like pin drop leak, but I thought I addressed with some Honda Bond around the fitting there that we will definitely address on the next radiator. Again, not thrilled right now. All right, so the bolts are out. Treated this, like the OEM piece, so I just put some Honda Bond on the back of the gasket there, so it probably won't just... There we go. Oh, nice. Did not mean to do that, but all right. All right, so I just made a command decision. Sanded this. I'm gonna go back to the original piece here. I'm just gonna cut this off, weld it, and we're gonna do an inline filler neck. Just less problems, less things to potentially go wrong, and let's just continue. Let's just get this guy solved here. So I put a little M5 bolt in there, just kind of put some little light welds around it. A little water test, doesn't seem to be leaking. Let's spray it with some Alumablast. Necessary? No, but just kind of clean it up a little bit. So we're already aware there's no ducting here. So I'm not really gonna do ducting, if you wanna call it that. We're just gonna call it block off plates for now. So here's one that's pretty roughed up. You can see, I put some stuff around here. We're gonna make another one real quick. This bolts an OEM spot, and I put a riv nut there. And yeah, so here's the next one we're making. This is some real thin, I think it's like 20 or 30 thou. But either way, it's gonna go out this direction, but you can kind of get a rough idea of what I just sort of did, right? That's gonna cover that. I have to get some kind of washers or something to go over it. So now we're just gonna cut the hole in here for the actual intercooler piping, and we'll kind of go out that way. We'll just keep trimming it as needed. So I definitely foobarred this a little bit. I should have cut the actual intercooler piping first. We're just gonna kind of center this roughly there. And that'll be about the center of the... All right, let's go over and let's see. So, could just go to install it or do some test fits, but I'm just gonna cross my fingers and say we're good. Just gonna put some trim on it now. Just always, I don't want this metal edge, you know, eventually just scraping the intercooler piping or any of that. Just something less to have to worry about. I mean, I'll check on it after the first couple of events to see how it's doing, but I don't want to risk that because it will definitely win the battle. Aha! Perfect. Ish. So, I'm just kind of holding this. It can probably go up. And I can't really push it in because I got to figure out where this is all going to sit. So, let me get my brackets. Let me rearrange this and we'll cut back to what we're doing next. All right, I'm just kind of holding this flush because that's where I probably bolted to it. The intercooler piping I know is going to get pushed a little bit from the radiator or from the intercooler once I put it in there. So now though it's hitting this little wing here. So let's, I don't know what you can see right now, but let's do this. All right, easy, right? It's so thin, so now I just gotta take some shears. All right, so this is gonna be good. This is definitely gonna be some good block off here. So what I'll still need to figure out is I'm gonna need to get a washer or something to go back here that just, I cut the hole big enough and I can still move it around a little bit, but I'm gonna need something to put pressure on this aluminum that when I tighten this bolt, it actually puts pressure down it. So maybe just like a good stud, I just need something. I'll figure something out about that with that Ace Hardware or whatever. This has, as you can see, quite a bit of room, but now what we need to do is, might as well use things that are already here in the car. So, I mean, I don't think this is gonna flap around, but might as well make this thing, you know, bolted to stuff. So we know we have the 2 OEM holes there. So we're just gonna, okay. All right, there we have it. So left side's on, right side's on. Still gotta trim that little bottom corner. I'll probably round those edges there on all of the corners there. Let's put the bumper on. Let's see how much actually it's stopped. I do have some 2-inch by like 96 feet worth of like that silver tape, like the ducting, like that I put on over there. The stuff you use for your heating and stuff like that. So let's put the bumper on again. Let's see what it looks like, see how much it actually blocks, and we will go from there. All right, so everything's installed. There's one block off plate. There's another block off plate. So now, blue Loctite. Everything's got blue Loctite on it because I'm not messing with it, not gonna risk it falling in between it. We got a little gap in between it there, but the bumper comes up and touches just into the radiator, so that's kind of like a little block off there. We welded the little nipple on here shut. So when you buy this radiator, it has like a fill to come over to your radiator, or your overflow, I mean. But because we're gonna use an inline, it is what it is. So I went to O'Reilly's, tried to find some parts, and I'm pretty sure I just found a lower radiator hose because it's massive. They did not have anything in straights in 1 1/4, but I'm gonna see if I can make this work, right? Like, this looks like it's kinda gonna work in a couple of ways, either this way, or I just cut that off. Maybe we'll go this way. Obviously shorten this end here, it's towards the motor, and maybe something like this. I'll just throw the inline at it, and it has a slight, kind of comes down a little bit, and I can tilt it. So let's get to cutting real slow, and we'll see what we can come up with here. All right, a lot of unnecessary cutting, just because it's a really very simplistic line. I just could not find something in O'Reilly's that was that length. But as you can see, it goes in there. It has like a little slight downward slope, which is easy to control because I can just rotate right here, and that'll kind of help dictate where it's gonna go. I've got a little forward pressure, so it's gonna push the radiator forward a little bit. As you can see, it doesn't move. There's my clearances. Line's already installed. That's just some residual Honda bottle there that I got on there. I need to wipe off, but yeah. So we should be good to fill this sucker with some coolant now, and we'll go from there. The only annoying part, or downfall, it's gonna be a little bit more of a hassle, is before with the Speed Factory part, it was pretty easy to be high. The funnel should still be the highest point, but it's gonna be a little bit more of a hassle with, like, it's actually pretty rigid, but we'll see. We'll go from there. It actually looks a little more, I don't know, clean, if you will. All right, so this is gonna be definitely a little more difficult than usual because the high fill point is just gonna be lower than what I'm kind of used to, but car's not even on, and you can see it already releasing some air bubbles. So we're gonna let that kind of keep doing its thing for a second. Once those stop, probably just turn the car on and we'll go from there. There was probably a quarter of Type 2 coolant left. Poured that in, poured half a thing of Redline. Honestly, I could probably pour it now, the rest of it. I know some people are gonna say it doesn't do anything when you mix it with coolant. I've heard it is what it is. I always run a full bottle in this car, and it's definitely done improvements, especially when I was in Florida. So let's just kind of see here. And I understand, right, if I just ran distilled water or just water in general, its cooling efficiency is better. Well, it gets cold out here. It freezes out here in New Mexico. So I was running coolant, corrosion. Every time I've drained this coolant, it has been perfectly blue. It's been mint. So I'm pretty happy with how it's been doing. We're just gonna, man, this thing's just bubbling. I'll probably top it off a little bit here and just turn the car on now. All right, so we are trying to bleed it. It's at 201.2, car jacked up. Just trying my best to get it high. Bubbles are still coming to surface. Lower radiator hose, come on, buddy. Nope. It is not hot yet. Obviously, it just being a low point is very difficult. It's still 201. Luckily, I've got my heater core hoses running to my little radiator. I've got both fans on, even though the other fan's not doing much because it's not circulating coolant all the way through the system. But it is that one. So, come on, buddy. Yep. Much more of a pain in the ass. 203. All right, put the camera off. It just sucked that whole funnel down. There we go, 195. Now we're flowing. There we go. Come on, buddy. Slightly warm, but I can grab it. So, must have just been a pretty good air pocket just sitting there. But we're at 188.6. There we go. I'll let it get down to like 180, Then I'll kill the fans and we'll let it warm back up. And we'll probably do this 2 or 3 times just to make sure there's no dang air bubbles. All right, so she's back together. And let's see here. So kind of blends in a little bit there, right? The black guards there. And you can see it goes all the way over. So that's kind of blocked. So anything that passes through here, it's either got to go into the tire well or, into the tire or into the mini radiator. Otherwise, like right about here-ish, if it wants to hit, it's going to hit the actual block-off plate. And if you look up through here, there's really no light shining. It's silver. I'll get to that in a second. Second block-off plate, same thing, except it's going to go towards the oil cooler or it's going to come back into the radiator. And then I just threw that foil tape, like I said, so blocking off the bumper to this. So for the most part, anything that comes up, through here, if it tries to come up through this little gap that was here, it is, for the most part, sealed off. Got the shield back on there. That looks pretty clean there. And yeah, so next step is just take it for a drive, and we'll see how she does. All right, so the temp's up to 185, cruising at like 55, 60 miles an hour. Temp sitting at 185. I'm gonna see how long I can kind of cruise in this without having to use fans. Granted, it's a fine temperature. My fans are clicked on by switches. They're not controlled by the ECU. So beforehand, when I had the 1/2-inch radiator, or the half size, it was completely ducted, and I could cruise about 30 minutes, like all the way to work on the highway, and I would never need to turn the fans on. It would never go above 195. With this Sirocco radiator, how I had it unducted, no block-off plates, no nothing, I could maybe get 20, 25 minutes, and the temp would slowly creep above 195, and then I would just turn the fans on, and it would be fine the rest of the way. But, and I was just kind of experimenting, right? So we just slowed down to about 35 for this turn. It's just kind of a test. I'm not really beating on it at the moment. I'll probably beat on it a little bit on the way back. We'll get home, we'll check for leaks, and I'll update you guys with how the coolant temp has been doing. If it stays at 185 this whole time, then the plates are really working, and I'm pretty stoked. All right, so the idle's pretty good. I'm gonna wait for the 185 to kind of get up, just start to climb. There we go, perfect. And now what I'm gonna do is, let's do a little drive, and let's see if cruising back, doing like 60 or 70 or something, well not 70, but 50 to 60, if the 186 temp will drop back down to like 185, 188. Let's do this without using a fan. That'll really help solidify this a bit here. We're gonna have to get on it a little bit. 192. Come on, baby. Let's give it some air, a big rush of air, generate a little bit of heat. 194. All right. Let's just cruise and let's see what this does here. So you guys can see. Kind of hope it does start to lower it. That'll be pretty sweet. One of the big differences too between the old setup is, right, I had a whole different wrap on the header, and I had a turbo blanket. I have no turbo blanket, but I have that little makeshift aluminum heat shield. Let's see. I'm coming into some traffic. I'm doing 50 now, but this is great. It's already going down. 192.2, and there's some traffic, and we're slowing down, but let's see, I got a little bit, if these guys would go a little bit faster. Speed limit's 55, I don't know why we're doing 40. We're stuck behind a Winnebago. All right, we slowed down a couple times to like 30 miles an hour, but I just turned both fans on. Just so I can see here, about to come to a stop here in a second, but see how low it'll drop it now. This speed was a little off. The bigger tires, I'm actually going a little slower. But let's see how low it'll actually drop. 181, this is pretty good. It's a little crazy, but I'm cool with it. Come on. All right, here she is in all of her glory. So far, pretty dang good. I'd say good results on that test drive. Looks pretty clean and sleek in there, I think. Yeah, pretty stoked. Can't be much. All right, well, I'm going to probably let it cool off, take it for one more cruise tomorrow, drive it to the gym or something, maybe on the same drive and just see how it does, because that was pretty good results, I'd say right now, way better than what it was without any ducting or, again, block off plates, whatever you want to say. So, yeah, let's rock and roll with that. It's 90 degrees outside right now, so it was hotter on the last track day, but, again, pretty good temp to test with. That's going to be it for now, man. If anybody's got any questions, comments, concerns, as usual, let me know. I'm open to all ideas, opinions, and see you guys next video, whatever that may hold. Hopefully we get another one in maybe before track day. And if it is, I don't know what the topic is currently, but we'll see. Time will tell. Thanks for watching, everyone.